What's up, everybody? Matt Gajewski here, back again with the Stochastic DFS channel. And today we're talking some college football DFS ahead of the single game Week 4 college football showdown between Coastal Carolina and Georgia State. Before we get started, make sure to hit that thumbs up button, subscribe to the channel, and hit the notification bell so you know when this and all other content goes live. That truly helps us a ton, so I want to thank you if you've done that, and thank you for just being here. You guys keep the lights on, and I really appreciate it, as well as everyone else. We are also brought to you by Prize Picks. Phenomenal offer for you guys. Right away, new users can get a $100 first match deposit bonus, but that's not all. That's also going to get you one free month of Odd Shopper and all sorts of tools on Odd Shopper. We have data that's going to help you with your Prize Picks props. I personally will be doing a video every Friday talking college football props specifically. Make sure to check that out. It's a phenomenal deal. If you or someone you know has a gambling problem, please call or text 1-800-GAMBLER, and you must be 21 plus. All right, single game. I'll bring you behind the glass, and we'll talk about this contest. This is one of our data usage tools where you can evaluate each of these teams. Up at the top, you will see game environment data, the spread, the total, how these teams interact offensively and defensively to the right. You've got seconds per play to help you identify pace, as well as pass rate, showing you some tendencies of these teams and how they might play in specific game scripts. Then below, with each of these players, you're going to see opportunity metrics, carries, opportunities, that's targets plus carries for the running backs. You'll see routes on the far right for receivers. If you have a question on this, I think the best thing to do is either leave a comment or reach out to me on Twitter at Matt_Gajewski. I'd be more than happy to help you with this. Available in our college football package, which has projections, ownership projections, and all of this data, as well as content for you. In this game, we have Coastal Carolina as a 7-point favorite, a 63 total. It's an absolute banger of a showdown. Can't wait for it. I love Coastal Carolina. They're my favorite team, so I'm particularly excited. We'll start with Georgia State. Pretty good 3-0 start for them. Defense is really leaky, especially against the pass, where they're outside the top 100 in coverage. But that should set up for a shootout here. And then Coastal Carolina outside the top 100 in run defense. Basically, both of these offenses are working into the weakness of the defense, should lead to points. Darren Granger, veteran signal caller, he's the most expensive player on DraftKings, FanDuel as well, actually. He already has over 200 yards rushing in 3 games, used on plenty of designed attempts where he's averaging 10 per game. And then as a passer, just hyper efficient here. 267 yards per game. Coastal shouldn't provide a ton of resistance against that. And he has the receivers to potentially stack in lineups. Robert Lewis has stepped in for Jamari Thrash, just fine as the number 1 here. Every single route, basically, he has a 27% target share, averaging 116 yards per game on 7 targets. It's not the best opportunity. The Coastal receivers have a little bit more, but the explosiveness is there for Lewis. He's $9K on DraftKings, which is a little bit overpriced compared to like Pinckney and Brown on the other side. But if you want to use him, I think you'll be a little contrarian. And I think in captain spot, you're going to get some leverage off Granger. And you're also going to capture a lot of what Granger does through the air here too. He's pretty clearly the wide receiver 1. And then interestingly, you have kind of a pricing drop off. Wide receiver 2, Josias Credle is $5,800. He's cheaper than Talik Williams at $66. Talik's had the better season. Talik has had 202 yards and Credle's only at 87. But you look at routes and targets, Credle's ahead of him. Credle has 16 targets to Talik's 12. Route participation, Credle's at 76%. Talik Williams is at 58. Potential leverage opportunity. We'll see how projections come out, but I anticipate Credle being a little bit under-owned and potentially a value play that's going to help you get to some of the more expensive guys like Granger and Lewis and the Coastal guys. With that said, I don't want to X out Talik Williams because he's been so good. Maybe you're just looking at a situation where he's worked himself into more routes over time. Hasn't really played out that way to start the year as I thought it might, but he's somebody you could definitely look at, especially in GPPs. Last guy to mention here, they do rotate receivers a little bit. So you have a wide receiver 4 in Jakari Carter, His route share actually did jump 35% to 39%. All the way up to 49% in their last game. 6 targets in that contest as well. Just a pure punt play. Jakari makes a lot of sense. He'll be on the field about half the time. They're going to rotate receivers. I don't really have any worry with him if he's the preferred value you want to get to. Among the pass catchers, the only real wrinkle left to talk about is tight end. They'd split time, Chris Bird and Amon Green, through 3 games. Chris Bird got hurt very early into their last game. That thrust Amon Green into a pretty large share of the offense. His route rate jumped from 37% on the year all the way up to 67%. We saw him get his first 4 targets. All those came in this game. He's 2K flat in the flex, so right away he could be another avenue to opening you up to more studs. Watch this late news. Chris Bird is questionable. The main beneficiary is Amon Green. In the backfield, we have Marcus Carroll. He is handling 24.3 touches per game. He's handling 119 rushing yards per game on the ground and 5 through the air. Now, Georgia State is 3-0. Maybe some of you are concerned with the pass catching role for Marcus Carroll. What happens if they trail? Fortunately for you, he has an 85% route share. This is among the highest in the country. He is not coming off the field on third downs. Marcus Carroll is a bona fide bell cow back in this offense. He's too cheap at 10.4K, as well as on FanDuel at 12K flat. Only pure running back stud we have. And I think an interesting way to build this is to play both signal callers with him. You can play him in the captain. I think he actually might offer some leverage off the signal callers in the captain spot here too, especially as an underdog. People might be a little afraid to click Carroll. So for GPPs, he's a guy I really like. Moving to the coastal side, Grayson McCall, a little bit too cheap, 10.8K. He should be up there with Granger. You do have Coastal as a touchdown favorite, so that helps his projection a little bit here. Some of you may be concerned with the rushing. I think this mainly has to do with the Coastal offensive line being pretty suspect. What I'll say about that is Georgia State's pass rush hasn't been phenomenal either, so hopefully McCall can stay upright. It was really UCLA that gave him those troubles. He has a 3.3 career yards per carry average. McCall can run. He's in a slightly different offense, so I don't expect as many attempts. But overall, in the first 2 games, 6 designed attempts in each. I expect McCall to run a fair amount here. His projection comes in just shy of 30 yards, gives him a good floor. As a passer, he's one of the most efficient signal callers in Sun Belt history, if not the most. Averages 10 yards per attempt, elite completion percentage. Weapons don't drop off here. He returns both Sam Pinckney and Jared Brown, as well as his wide receiver 3, Mobley. You should see him decimate a very weak Georgia State secondary. Grayson McCall, price adjusted, he would be my number 1 favorite captain. Only real reason to get away is because of alternatives. We have many. If you're running multiple lineups, I would mix and match. And then potential ownership, you could go to Carroll, Granger, or a pass catcher for leverage. His stacking options and the receivers to look at here, Sam Pinckney, Jared Brown. I have more interest in them over Robert Lewis just with the rate Coastal's throwing. They're at 50%. Georgia State's going to be about a 40 to 45% pass team depending on game script. So right away, you have more raw targets and more condensed target shares for a lot of the Coastal guys. They only use 3 receivers, whereas Georgia State uses 4. Sam Pinckney is a 29.5% target share. He's averaging 81 yards per game, almost every route. Jared Brown, he has a 23% target share, 62 yards per game, almost every route. And with Jared Brown, you also get gadget plays. 4 carries so far this year, handled a pretty large share of the rushing last year. They look to get him involved on jet sweeps, bubble screens. He's one of the fastest players on the team and most explosive. So they want to get the ball in his hands where he can move around the formation and create yards after the catch. Gives you a very good floor with Brown, and I love him as a price-adjusted play and a contrarian captain. Their wide receiver 3 is Tyson Mobley. His route share sits at 52%. If you're looking at this, the only thing I'll say is he did miss week 2. You basically saw him at 80% of the routes in week 1 and then 70% in week 3. He only has 5 targets on the year, but one of these extreme buy lows where he's on the field way too much to be this price. So he's another value guy in addition to Amon Green and Jakari Carter. You can mix and match him to get better pass catchers up at the top. Aside from that, pretty nasty rotation across the board. Don't really use a clear tight end. Does Coastal Carolina. So I'm kind of just focusing my attention on these 3. If you would look at a tight end, the 2 names to mention are Kendall Carr and Matt Alamo. Not a lot of interest in either of them. Kendall Carr would be the preferred if getting to one of these guys. His route participation just doesn't really reflect his total target, so it's a bit dicey there. The backfield, we've got an injury in Reese White to monitor. He did not play in their last game, and his status hasn't been updated. Coastal doesn't have the best reporting, but I think this being a primetime game, somebody will probably tell us something on Reese White. They use a 3-back committee when he's active. He was leading the team in touches prior to the injury, slightly ahead of Braden Bennett. So right away, I think Bennett is the safest. He has 30 touches on the year. He has 5 targets, gives you that floor in the pass game. 6,200 is not exactly a favorable price, but he would see a touch projection if we get the news that White is out. The other player that would benefit is CJ Beasley. He's been working as the running back 3, although still involved. Reese White being out would help his case. He has 19 touches on the year, 5 targets as well. And then finally, Reese White himself, if active, he was the running back 1, or at least 1A, Bennett maybe being 1B when healthy. He had 21 touches prior to the injury and a pretty good snap share and route share there too. So if White is active, I would immediately rank him number 1 as the price adjusted play. In terms of safety, I would go Bennett 1, Beasley 2, White 3. Pretty good GPP situation. And last guy to mention here, Max Baltazar. Sorry, Max, I know I'm not saying that correctly. 9 touches in the last 2 games. I think he would be the guy that pops up here on occasion if White is out. You could mix him and match for GPPs. That'll do it for us today. Thank you for watching 10 minutes on the Showdown slate. Appreciate you guys. For a gamer tomorrow, we'll break it down. Full main slate on Saturday. If you have any questions, reach out to me on Twitter. And if you have feedback on the show, leave a comment. I would love to hear it. Always trying to make the show better. Otherwise, we'll see you again tomorrow. Good luck, everyone. We'll see you next time.